CGI has quickly become a centerfold for filmmaking, but before we can awe at those amazing digital effects, it's got to go through some awkward stages first. Here are 10 moments of actors caught without digital effects, part 2. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all of our latest videos. Before we begin, can you guess the film from these emojis? Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out. Man of Steel. While being a superhero always seems like it'd be pretty fun, mostly, acting as one isn't always so great. Filming stunts for an action-filled superhero movie can be tricky, because bar us at Screen Rant, most people aren't gifted with the superpowers to actually do them. Like flying. Filming Superman flying for Man of Steel and all of Superman's other appearances, the DC Extended Universe presented many challenges. The filmmakers wanted him flying faster than he had ever flown before. And whilst the character is no stranger to flying on the big screen, making him faster meant finding new ways of working and a lot more digital effects. It required starting with a base capture of Henry Cavill suspended on wire rigs and gimbal rigs as he acted out his flying scenes in front of a green screen. Afterwards, a lot of CGI was added to create his super speedy flight. A lot of the other action stunts were also produced this way, and we see Cavill and co. flying around on their wires against a green screen background. Once the editing department got finished with it, it all came together pretty well, which is lucky because it looks pretty silly. But we really want to have a go.
Let go, kids! What? Let go!
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Voldemort's first appearance, where he wasn't a parasite on the back of a teacher's head or a memory in a diary, didn't materialize until the 4th film. A long time for a series main villain. And boy, did they have a lot to live up to. The look was created out of a combination of practical makeup effects and digital effects. The latter mostly because Ralph Fiennes had the cheek to have a nose. Even before the digital editing altered his face completely, Daniel Radcliffe admitted that he was genuinely intimidated by Fiennes when they were filming their scenes together. To complete the facial transformation into He Who Must Not Be Named, he had to wear small dots over his face and bald head, to be edited over in post-production. He goes from being scary but comical to the snake-like Voldemort we all know and, well, we don't really love him. Okay, just a little bit. And if you did, or still do, find that he terrifies you, just remember the image of him with his little dots, and that under his flowing gowns he had to wear tights and suspenders and stockings. Okay, maybe that made it worse. Game of Thrones. The entire existence of Game of Thrones hinges on digital effects. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on what way you want to look at it. Dragons are not real. And even if they were, they are rumored to be temperamental and like to steal shiny things, so they wouldn't be the best to work with. We cannot wrangle them and put them in films, we've got to make them. And have you ever wondered what is really going on when Daenerys is meant to be interacting with her beloved dragons? Emilia Clarke is interacting with a green screen. When the dragons are small, it is a green ball on a stick, and when they are larger, it is essentially a green pillow. She also rides the dragons. This is done by filming her on a mechanical device, which basically is like a giant mechanical bull. We have to admire her for staying focused whilst filming these scenes. We should be far too busy laughing to get any work done. SHIN Godzilla. SHIN Godzilla is the latest of Toho's 29 Godzilla films, and the first film of the 3rd series reboot. Godzilla has a long history, stretching back to the first film in 1954. Ever since then, bringing Godzilla to life via practical effects has been a large part of the process, and making the film so good. Godzilla is best known for being brought to life via suitmation. Luckily, the suits have improved since the first one, which caused the actor inside to lose 20 pounds over the course of filming and pass out within minutes. It would have been easy for Shin Godzilla to jump straight to digital effects, but luckily it stuck to tradition, using a combination of puppetry, suitmation, animatronics, and CGI. Nomura Mansai provided the monster's movement for the motion capture. His costume for this included a black bodysuit with white dots, and a plain mask, fins, and tail resembling Godzilla, which was used by the digital effects team as a reference for rendering the digital Godzilla model. Luckily, Mansai is known for his work in Kyogen, which is a type of comic theater, so he wasn't shy about looking too silly as he brought the gigantic creature to life. We can never unsee it though.
Put down the spear!
The Avengers. The Avengers are another film which falls into the ever-growing category of playing a superhero is embarrassing. Speaking of which, have you seen how they made the Hulk into a reality? Mark Ruffalo, who plays Bruce Banner, also provided the motion capture which was required to bring Hulk onto the big screen. He is the first actor to have played both Banner and Hulk too. which is pretty cool. His voice is provided by Lou Ferrigno, who was the OG Hulk in the Incredible Hulk TV show. Having Ruffalo play both characters meant that the Hulk and Banner looked more alike than they ever had done in the past. It made it more believable that this was the same person, and meant that they didn't just resemble each other in appearance, but in their expressions too. Ruffalo's main costume for his motion capture was a gray suit. He found it unflattering and has asked for something a bit less revealing for feature films. The best piece of his motion capture costume, though, was his Hulk torso. A hilarious and hulkingly large piece of costume designed to mimic the overall size of Hulk when he was digitally added. The pictures even reveal his co-stars interacting with it. The Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn. The Twilight series were part of a trend of paranormal romance books, films, and TV aimed primarily at young women in the mid-late 2000s. A central part of the story was focused on Bella Swan and whether she'd choose to get with Team Edward and the vampires or Team Jacob and the werewolves. Special effects were needed to bring both the vampires and the werewolves to the big screen, and after seeing the behind the scenes of the wolves, we are most definitely Team Jacob. When the wolves were on screen alone, they were simply added in via digital effects, but there was a lot of human interaction between human and wolf, especially between Bella and Jacob. It meant getting Taylor Lautner in a gray bodysuit which covered everything but his face, and a pair of white tracksuit bottoms. Then he acted the scenes with Kristen Stewart, which allowed them to get proportions and eye lines right. Our personal favorite was where Stewart had to interact with him like he was a real wolf, which involved petting him. Fewer things in this world are as funny as watching a full-grown man wearing funny clothes whilst he gets his head rubbed. The Hobbit. As one of their many collective adventures across the 3 The Hobbit films, a group of dwarves seek to reclaim the Lonely Mountain and all its treasures from the fearsome dragon Smaug. Smaug is ancient, cruel, and greedy, and voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, the embodiment of the British expression of the stiff upper lip. Cumberbatch didn't just lend his voice to the character either. He also provided the motion capture for it. Doing so required a gray and black jumpsuit with white dots on key areas of the limbs and joints, as well as a very strange piece of headgear with a small camera attached to pick up his facial movements. His face was a key focal point for the CGI and covered in white dots. If the getup wasn't silly enough, we haven't even gotten into what he actually has to do. On the set footage of the recording process shows Cumberbatch crawling around on all fours, like a cross between a snake and, well, a man pretending to be a dragon, we suppose. One thing we know for sure is that we're not so sure we can ever take Smaug or Cumberbatch seriously ever again.
Sorry, mate.
Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. With the amount of monsters and dead men making their way into the Pirates of the Caribbean series, it should be no surprise that it made the list. Dead Man's Chest introduced Captain Davy Jones, the tentacle-faced captain of the Flying Dutchman and the film's villain. Naturally, it's safe to assume Bill Nighy, who plays him, didn't quite fit that description. At the very least, he's been good at hiding those tentacles in all his other roles, hasn't he? Almost all of Nighy's scenes were filmed like the rest of the movie, on location and on sets and not alone in a green room. This meant he was actually interacting with all of the other cast members, and made all of their performances much more organic. Because it is really hard to give a good performance when you're talking to nothing. Davy Jones and his entire crew were filmed wearing gray tops and trousers with a gray cap with a headband on it. The headband matches bands around their waist and legs, which are white and black checkered, with dot patterns. Nighy even has who knows what smeared around his mouth and eyes. The motion capture suits are ones which we featured a few times on this list. They look pretty silly, but it all comes together well in the end.
Star-Lord. Who?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Groot and Rocket Racoon are fan favorites, being cute, funny, and kick-ass. But the behind the scenes of their parts being filmed is funnier than the characters are in the finished film. On set, they were played by Christian Godlewski and Sean Gunn, who also played Kraglin. Both men are in the 6-foot sort of area, making Gunn an odd choice for the raccoon, and makes us wonder whether or not there was anyone shorter wandering around on set when that decision was made. Both were required to wear motion capture suits and act out the scenes in character. It gave the other actors a physical thing to work and interact with, meant eye lines were accurate, and gave the animation department a better idea of things like character reach, size, and lighting. There were also 2 life-sized models of Rocket for this reason, and we firmly believe that everyone in the world deserves their own life-sized Rocket Raccoon. Throughout filming, we see that Gunn is crouched on the floor to simulate Rocket's height, but the funniest part isn't Gunn on the floor. It is how Godlewski was made up to simulate Groot's massive height. Because yes, Godlewski is wearing a bust of Groot's head. Beauty and the Beast. In the latest incarnation of the classic tale, Dan Stevens plays both the prince and the beast. Whilst he was pretty much perfect as the prince, he needed a little bit of help to become the beast. And as you may have probably guessed by now, that meant some good old-fashioned CGI. The finished beast looks great, but before we got that, there was Dan Stevens in a motion capture suit. This one isn't like all of the others though. Oh no. This one came complete with padding to simulate the beast's large frame. And he's got things attached to his feet to make him look taller. His shoulders, chest, torso, and thighs are the areas with the most padding. So much so that his head looks absolutely and hilariously tiny on top of it all. He also had to do separate facial capture where he is reciting his lines and pulling exaggerated faces to be animated into the film. We aren't sure how the cast got any work done when faced with that. Especially not Emma Watson, who had to interact with him seriously on a number of occasions. Can you imagine dancing with a guy who looks like that? And that is 10 funny moments of actors caught without digital effects. What were your favorites? And can you think of any funny moments we left out? Let us know in the comments section below, and remember to like, share, and subscribe for more great content on our playlist. And while we're at it, the answer to the emoji quiz is... Did you get it? Let us know below. Thanks for watching.